the depths of dread. After years of city life, moving to the quiet lakeside town of Pine Hollow was supposed to be a fresh start. I traded the blaring horns of traffic for the soothing sounds of rippling water and birdsong. My new house, a cozy cottage overlooking the vast, pristine lake, felt like the perfect escape. But peace has a funny way of unraveling when you start noticing things you shouldn't. It all began with the fishermen, grizzled old men who sat at the pier day after day, lines cast into the water, waiting. The usual hum of excitement whenever they pulled in their catch was strangely absent. Instead, whispers floated through the town about empty nets and dwindling fish. People brushed it off, calling it a fluke, but I was curious. Something wasn't right. Why would an entire lake teeming with life just weeks before suddenly go silent? One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in purples and golds, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I dusted off my old scuba gear, determined to find out what lay beneath the calm surface. My curiosity had always been my strongest trait, but it was about to lead me somewhere I could never have imagined. The water was freezing as I dove in, but it was the eerie stillness that set my nerves on edge. My flashlight cut through the dark water, revealing nothing but silt and rocks. I swam deeper, my heart pounding in sync with the rhythmic bubbles escaping my regulator. As I approached the lake bed, I noticed something strange. The fish were gone, but there were bones. Piles of them, scattered across the sand. Fish bones, yes, but others too. Some larger, like the remains of a deer, and others disturbingly human in size. Suddenly, a shadow passed in front of my light, swift and silent. I froze, my breath catching in my throat as I scanned the murky water, feeling eyes on me from every direction. The shadow returned, closer this time, circling me like a predator toying with its prey. My gut screamed for me to leave, but I was rooted in place, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever it was. And then I saw it. A massive, serpentine figure, easily twice my size, with scales that shimmered a sickly green in the fading light. Its eyes were milky, lifeless orbs, but they locked onto me with a terrifying intelligence. The thing's mouth opened slowly, revealing rows of needle-like teeth, and a low growl vibrated through the water, sending ripples of dread straight to my core. I kicked hard, desperate to escape, but the creature lunged, its long, muscular body cutting through the water with terrifying speed. I felt the icy brush of its scales against my leg as I narrowly avoided its jaws. My lungs burned as I swam upward, the weight of panic dragging me down as much as the water. I broke the surface, gasping for air, my mind reeling. But just as I thought I was safe, I felt it again. A pull. Gentle at first, like something brushing against my ankle. Then it yanked hard. I screamed, flailing in the water. But there was no one around to hear. I was alone, being dragged back down into the depths by something ancient, something that didn't want to be disturbed. As the world above faded into darkness, my last thought was that the lake had never been silent. I had just been listening to the wrong side. Days later, I woke up on the shore, soaked, shivering, but alive. I stumbled back to my cottage, trying to make sense of what had happened. But as I dried off and looked out at the still lake, I noticed something strange. On the dock, a fish, glistening and fresh, lay beside my scuba gear, and underneath it, a single human bone. Something had let me go. But why? And what was it waiting for? I stared at the bone for what felt like hours, my mind racing to piece together the fragments of the night before. The fish, the bone, it couldn't be a coincidence. Something, or someone, wanted me to know they were watching. I reached down to pick it up, my hand trembling as my fingers closed around the cold, brittle surface. It was smooth, polished by the water, but old. Far too old for this to have been any recent victim. I sat on the dock, the bone resting in my lap, and gazed out at the lake. The water was eerily calm, not a ripple in sight, as if mocking the terror that had unfolded beneath its surface. How long had that thing, whatever it was, been down there? And more importantly, how many others had it claimed before letting me escape? I couldn't shake the feeling that my freedom wasn't an act of mercy, but part of a game. A warning, perhaps, or an invitation to something far darker. Over the next few days, I tried to put the encounter behind me, but the lake had changed. Every time I stepped outside, I could feel its presence, heavy and oppressive, looming over the town. The fishermen stopped coming, their boats gathering dust on the shore. At night, the water would shimmer under the moonlight, but I could never bring myself to look for too long. I'd hear strange noises, splashes, whispers carried by the wind, and the occasional tug on the end of the dock that would jolt me awake in the dead of night. Then, one evening, as I was locking my door, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. At the far end of the dock, where the bone had been left, a figure stood in the moonlight. It was tall, impossibly thin, with long limbs that seemed to stretch unnaturally as it bent down, picking something up. I felt my heart seize in my chest as I realized it was holding another bone, its head slowly turning to face me. The figure stood still for a moment, the moon casting a long shadow across the lake. Then it raised a bony hand and pointed directly at me. I backed away from the window, my hands shaking, as a cold dread settled deep in my gut. I knew what it meant. Whatever lurked beneath the surface hadn't finished with me yet, and it wasn't just waiting in the water anymore. The next morning, I found footprints on the shore. Not human ones, but long, webbed prints leading directly from the lake to my back door and back again. The last thing I found, left at the edge of the dock, was a note carved into the wood. It wasn't in English, but somehow I understood it clearly. "Come back, or I will come for you." Let me know in the comments below if you want to hear more from this story. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.